morning, good morning. Oh, I do this shit every morning, bro. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Them shits right here gonna be hot. Shit, right? They sound like something. Hey, I like that. I like that. Marge, what's up, yo? Hey, how's it going? You know how we get it popping and screen. Yo, Terrell, what up, bro? Hey, I'm on YouTube Live right now too, guys. Yo, Vinny, Hartsville, stand up. You know what I'm saying? H-Town, do it big for Hartsville. I ain't never forget where I come from. I know motherfuckers from my hometown, from my state, leave the state and be like, oh, I'm from Florida. I'm from Atlanta. Bitch, stop lying, you from Hartsville. Stop lying, you from Hartsville, man. Oh, Trap doing big. He living in the city now. He doing moves with the art. Nigga, I'm still from Hartsville. Hartsville, stand up. You know how we do it. Goddamn red foxes, boy. And goddamn red foxes. I'm raised in the Ville, always gonna claim the Ville. I'm raised in the Ville, always gonna claim the Ville. I'm raised in the Ville, always gonna claim the Ville. They call it Killerville cause we kill for real. Raised in the Ville, always gonna claim the Ville. I was raised in the Ville, always gonna claim the Ville. I was raised in the Ville, always gonna claim the Ville. They call it Killerville cause we kill for real. Ooh, boy. Yeah, that was just some little bullshit off the top. Oh. Yo, Oscar, what's up, yo? Hey. And I stay on that grind. Ooh, that money stay on my mind. Ooh, in your eyes cause I shine. You might need some shades cause it's so bright. I might dim your light, I might your light, I might spin it right, I might hit that pipe when I hit that pipe. And ooh, so I grind and grind, and I grind all night like. And I stay grinding, ooh, and I stay shining, ooh, do it with perfect timing. Y'all don't grind like me. Y'all don't grind like me. I do it so you can see. Ooh, yeah. I do it so you can see. Yeah. Cause you don't grind like me. Nah, cause you don't grind like me. Ooh, man. I do it so you can see. Yeah. I do it so you can see. Like, yeah. I gotta tap that grinder like, yeah. I gotta tap that grinder like, ooh. So you can see, yeah. I grind so you can see. Hey, I grind so you can see. Nah, you ain't grinding like me, then I dump the contents. Get so high, I might speak some nonsense. Nah, dog, it's only logic. Yeah, and I will not stop it, cause early in the morning, you know, I like to wake and bake. Hit the studio and grab my paint. Might do a live stream. And ask the people really what they think. Oh, you ain't grinding like me. I grind so you can see. Yeah, you ain't grinding like me. I grind so you can see. Tap that grinder and I tap that grinder. And I tap that ass when I come from behind her. Oh, the bars. My bad. Tinky, tinky, tinky. Jay, what up? Oh, you know it. You know how I do, Jay. Hold on. Yo. So I am working on some really different stuff right now. These skulls are gonna be a dramatic breakaway from what I'm normally producing. Got some gas built up in my chest. Woo! I needed that. Yo, Derek, what up? Alright, that beat was too light and fluffy, too airy, all the in the background. I can't get with that. That's right there sound like some shit though, already. I hear that little Motown in the back. What's up? Yo, California. What it do, brother? You want some? I know you don't fuck with this shit. Y'all fuck with this shit? Y'all don't fuck with this shit, man. Just more for me, cause it's more for me. And I just smoke for free, cause if you don't wanna blow no bud, then it's more for me. More smoke for me, yeah. No peer pressure, yeah. Cause I won't stress you. You don't wanna smoke with me? Then smoke for me. And I smoke for free. No pressure. No, Boozy. Boozy gonna smoke with me. If nobody don't fucking smoke with me, Boozy gonna blow. What's up, bud? And I've been start rolling blunts, cause that's for stupid stunts. You can say what you want, but that tobacco wrapped around my weed just don't taste that good. If it really got some sticks and seeds, I call that shit wood. But I'm smoking on that loud, and it tastes like some gas. It smell like a skunk just ran over and passed me. Damn, it's so, this shit is stink like some ass cheeks. Ooh, but it still blasts me. I get so high, man. I be so fly, man. You know I'ma smoke till I die, man. Cause I'm a real pothead, and that's a fact. I just like to relax and pack this bowl and blow something that's real fat. And then I freestyle on some tracks, man. Then I get back on the map. Where these beats coming from, man? These shits are so weird this morning. Lyrics potent as we grind the MCs, blazing these L's. But the weak-minded I have a dream like MLK, so there's a dream behind it. Oh, okay, Carl. Okay, Carl, this morning. Yeah, that beat too smooth, man. That shit make you want to sing on that shit, y'all. Y'all know I ain't had my lemon juice this morning. Cypher time? Oh, we don't do the commercials. Come on, commercial. Oh, I can't skip it. Turn that speaker off until the fucking ad go away now. Come on, let me skip the advertisement. I'm not gonna listen to that shit. I got all my Killerville people in here checking this shit out. The last painting I just finished, I might have to pull it out. I took it down in the basement to let it dry down there just because I needed more space. But if y'all go to my Instagram or y'all go to my Paintings by the Prince Facebook page, y'all can see that last painting that I finished. It was a really handsome black man, and he's holding a stack of books. And one of the books that he's holding is the late great Dr. Amos Wilson, Black on Black Violence. Hey bruh, you know the more you buy, the higher the discount go. You know what I'm saying? No discounts on one piece, but you get two or more, man, we can start haggling and finagling some prices right around that shit. It don't matter if you say dream twice, cause you gotta dream big, so you gotta say it more than once. You know what I'm saying? You gotta say it more than once. Yo, you know what, bro? Calfani, I swear to God, I think I still may have some saucy designs. No fucking lie. I got my old ass tablet. If I ain't mistaken, I got like 1 or 2 saucy designs from fucking, when that was? 98, 99 or something like that. So this is the last piece I just finished. It is really wet. I used, boy, I gotta do some cardio. Jeez. Okay, so I'm on the 2nd floor. I had to go downstairs to the 1st floor. and go downstairs into the basement, and then come up from the basement, and then come up from the first floor. But it's 4 flights. I just did 4 flights. But I felt like I just ran a 40-yard dash or some shit. What the fuck? We too strong this morning, man. Whew. We too strong this morning. That shit. Whew. Smoke, what's up? See, this one I be feeling old, bro. Just like little shit like that, I be realizing like, nigga, what are you doing? Why you breathe? You just went in the basement and came back upstairs. You breathing like you ran from the cops, motherfucker. That ain't good. That means I gotta either stop smoking or do more cardio. I think I'm gonna try more cardio first. Whew, shit. I'm saying though, but only 4 flights of stairs, like, I don't know if I should fucking be that winded. I know I kind of jogged it a little bit, but still, like, it's just 4 fucking flights. And as soon as I didn't even feel it till I sat down just now. I was like, what the fuck is that? Jesus, that don't feel nice. What yeah, so yeah, this is my last Joan. I'm gonna do Facebook first, guys, real quick. Let Facebook check this out. Facebook. No. Oh, I almost canceled this shit. Yo, Facebook. YouTube is my main streaming platform. You know what I'm saying? I got all my homies in here on YouTube. We already having deep ass conversations. We in here freestyling this shit already. So I'm telling you now. Yo, Britt, what's up, cuzzo? If you guys are gonna stick around for even 10 minutes, you know what I'm saying? The link is on my Facebook page. And if you can't find a link, my Facebook page is just my name. It's just Travis Prince. I mean, my YouTube is just Travis Prince. So I try to get everybody to come chill on my YouTube. Yo, MJ. You know, MJ know what the deal is. MJ, my motherfucker follow me on goddamn Instagram, EBFNA, Facebook, YouTube. Like, yo, that's my mans. That's my mans in there. I'm about to show him this piece right here. So I was talking about this book. I highly recommended everybody to get a copy of this book, read this book. It's probably the most influential book I have ever read. On top of being influential, it's probably the best piece of literature I've ever read. So I used this book, and I actually waited because the title of it is very telling in itself. And you know, when white people see this, they're gonna feel some type of way because it's like this. It's the subtitle, sort of the base title, the main title, black on black violence. Everybody will be like, oh yeah, black on black violence. But the subtitle is the psychodynamics of black self-annihilation in service of white domination. And even that phrase alone, you say it again, Trap? And yes, I'll say it again. The psychodynamics of black self-annihilation in service of white domination. And so when white people read that, you know they're already going to be like, wait a minute, this shit is racist. And so, I don't know. I love this book. It's my favorite book. And it hasn't been a dominant figure in the reader series yet because actually I've just been holding it because it's that powerful. I wanted people to understand my reader series and have a base knowledge of my reader series and what I'm trying to do with it. And now I'm about to hit you with some shit. You know? So now you about to get some of the real shit right here. This fucking black on black violence. Yo, read this book. But I was saying this is not high school level shit, bruh. This book is basically written on a college level. It is a hard read. And I said that on one show, and then this guy has had the book since I started the painting. Well, since I took the photograph, and so it was from the time between me taking the photograph and starting the painting was about a week or so. And the time for me starting the painting to completing the painting was about 3 or 4 weeks. And so I just kindly asked for the book back. And I asked him, did he finish it? He was like, nah, some of the words were kind of hard. But that's what it is, though. Like, I'm not doubting anybody's intelligence, you know what I'm saying? But this isn't this isn't a really easy book to read. Um, this is how it's read. White American self-fulfilling prophecies and falsifications of the African personality. The white American falsification, the white American falsified African identity is introjected, actualized, and interactively programmed within the body and eco-complex of the collective African personality, principally by means of projective self-fulfilling processes. White Americans' projectively based exploitations of African Americans would not be psychodynamically successful if the exploited African ego complex could present an effectively opposing set of cognitive, personal, and behavioral characteristics which would belie them. In order for the white American exploitation of African Americans to achieve psychodynamic and material success, it is necessary that Eurocentrically falsified images, thoughts, and behavior orientations be actualized in a collective African American psyche. And it reads, that's the whole book. It goes on and on and on like that. But if you take it slow and break down the fucking words, you'll understand what he's saying. And it's, I don't know. The psychodynamics of the ego's self-defense mechanisms, internalization of racist attitudes and perceptions, identification with the aggressor displaces aggression, misdirected anger, rage, etc., and how they are utilized by a crimogenic Eurocentric system in an attempt to compel African Americans to engage in apparently self-willed acts of communal, interpersonal, and individual acts of self-destruction must be thoroughly understood. And it reads like this on and on and on, but it's not, like I said, it's an awesome book. It just, if you can make it through the first 30 pages and understand the terminology that he uses and some of the definitions that he presents to you, then you can finish the book. And at the end of the book, you'll be like, what the fuck? Yo, you have this? I'm telling you, bruh. This shit changed my fucking life, dude. But this is, I read it twice in one setting. I read this book 2 times at once because I literally read a page, read the page again. Turn the page, read the page again. Like, you gotta fucking, like, I don't know, it's weird, but it's, when you get it, it's like, oh my god, this shit is amazing. This motherfucker is breaking down our whole psychological complex, yo, and why we think the way we do. And it's presented by a lot of external stimuli that is given to us in order to keep this fucking system the way that it is, in order for the power to remain in the hands of the ruling elite. And they will not educate you towards power, because educating you towards power means you will take power from them, and they cannot have that. And so they will destroy you, and they will teach you to destroy yourselves to help out. You need to help us kill yourselves. Come on. Let's get this gang banging started, man. Y'all want some more guns? No major gun manufacturer or ammunition manufacturer is owned by a black man or family. We do not make guns. Black people don't make guns and weapons. So how do we get our hands on this? Why are we so enticed by the idea of having a weapon only to turn it on people who look like you. But you know who your real aggressor is. You know who your real oppressor is. You know where the real power structure lies, but you still rather kill a powerless person who looks just like you. And there is a fucking reason for this. There is a reason for it. Yo, oh, you're already getting through, bruh. I'm telling you. And then this was before the drug Soma was really ever invented. And then, like in the 80s or something, they came out with a pill called Soma. Like, really? They really made that shit. They really made Soma. It was a real prescription. And it's like, what the fuck? And they're cloning shit, and how you can kind of see, like, with this LGBTQW movement, I'm just a person, I'm just a being, I'm polysexual or whatever, and that's how it is. You teach them young. Now you got little boys 10 years old, somebody, he's a drag queen, you know what I'm saying, and they teaching this sense that, you know, the lessening of the sexual experience, and teaching kids early on to be just promiscuous, and not really want a family, not really want to procreate. And this is actually a major scare in the European population, because they are on a drastic decline globally, not just in the US. They already see that shit, and they talk about it a lot. By 2050, the white American Caucasian will be a minority, and they're almost basically a minority now, because most Spanish people categorize themselves as European during the census. And when they take census, they mark Caucasian, because, you know, Puerto Rican, like, and like Spanish and Latino, those, like, they're not really racist. You know what I'm saying? It's not, the Latino is not a race. So a lot of them categorize themselves as Caucasian. But like real white people, like, they're on a drastic decline. And all this 1984 Brave New World, like I say, you have to kind of merge those two stories together, with the controlling of the media and the controlling of the language. Now, with the technology like that CRISPR shit, they're going to start gene editing and controlling the biology. And now you're going to breed people a certain way. You know what I'm saying? And we're on a steady breakdown of the family unit, whatever that is, because there's so many different ways to classify a family unit. But it's even, whatever you think a family is, that is going to continue to break down and lead into this Brave New World scenario. And the shit is fucking, those books are fucking weird as shit, dude. Brave New World, Aldous Huxley. 1984, Orwell. Fahrenheit 451, Ray Bradbury. That's another good one. Now, the subtitle to Fahrenheit 451 is The Temperature at Which Books Burn. Fahrenheit 451, The Temperature at Which Books Burn. That's a crazy, and it's just a novel, it's just a story, it's made up. But when you read that shit, yo, Jay, what up? When you read that shit, yo, that shit is crazy, son. That's another crazy ass story, son. I swear. Did I read the new Jim Crow? So the next installment in my reader series is going to be Michelle Alexander's The New Jim Crow. I already have the canvas started. This is the first layer of paint for this project. And so this will be my next painting that I work on. And so, oh yeah. So The New Jim Crow is the focal point of this piece. And how my reader series works, whichever book is being read at the time is the painting is titled after the author of that book. So this painting will be called Michelle Alexander. So we have several books here. This is probably the second piece that I did that has this many books in it. There's actually 5 books in this piece right here, which is going to lead to a lot of research for people who actually pay attention to what these books are. I only did one piece prior to this that has 5 books in it. This piece right here has 3 books in it. Well, this piece has the entire bookshelf. But this is one that really got it started. This is The Destruction of Black Civilization. This was written by Chancellor Williams. Once again, even the subtitle for Michelle's book is Mass Incarceration in the Age of Colorblindness. So when you understand mass incarceration, when you understand private, for-profit prisons, when you really look into the 13th Amendment, and all these things start to add up, and you see the cases in Philadelphia where the 2 judges went to jail for selling kids to the prisons, kids for profit. And you see that this is a real thing, and then that some people are disproportionately arrested and giving longer prison sentences than others. And this is a common occurrence that happens regularly. Then the system is biased, the system is set up against a certain group of people, and no matter what you say about who's more violent and the percentage of the prison population, when you see all the facts, we understand who's more violent. And we understand why we're arrested and locked up so much. But you just can't go to one source to figure this shit out. You just can't have one input or one outlet. You have to listen to different people, read different people, and start putting all the puzzle pieces together, and you will see a fucking picture of this world without the fucking rose-colored glasses on. No matter what anybody tells you, you will see this shit for what the fuck it is. It's a system of oppression. And some people are oppressed more heavily than others. The top 3 best books I've ever read: Black on Black Violence is number 1. I might have to say Blueprint for Black Power, maybe number 2. And honestly, I'm a real big sci-fi fan, man. You gotta read Frank Herbert's Dune. You ever read Dune? Read that shit, yo. The first Dune. Frank Herbert did a trilogy with Dune. Dune Messiah, The Children of Dune. His son picked it up and did 3 more books with it. You read that first Dune, D-U-N-E. Dune, like a sand dune. Frank Herbert. I love motherfucking, bruh. I said that goddamn, that 1984. I don't know, man. It's so hard to say, really. My top three, I think, that really taught me the most is Black on Black Violence. My favorite book I've ever read so far. Whatever come behind that, man, it just, I wanna say the destruction of black civilization, but I kind of learned a lot of that stuff before I read the book. I'm just shocked that I never heard of the author, and I'm from South Carolina, and he's from South Carolina. In my entire life growing up, nobody in my life ever presented me with that book saying, hey, this dude's from South Carolina. Like, it's weird. Think about that. That shit don't seem incredibly strange to you? I thought, what? And they're so cheap, bro. They like $11 a copy, $8. It costs you $8 for a fucking master degree in psychology, bruh. You know what I'm saying? It costs you $11 for a master degree in criminal law. But once you read that fucking mass incarceration shit, bro, you see how she telling you how this shit works. She telling you how this shit works, bruh. Giving you a law degree. Dr. Amos Wilson gonna give you a psychiatry degree. He telling you why we think the way we think. Why does it seem, in general, the black community is less organized than almost anybody else? And motherfuckers throw that shit in our face all the time. Well, the Indians and the Arabs and the Chinese and everybody else come over here and they build their own communities and they buy stores and they help their families and they could, yeah, why is that? How come I gotta go down to the gas station at the corner, there's an Indian dude on that shit instead of a black dude? And they 5 Chinese restaurants in a 2-mile radius and no black restaurant. Why is that? Why don't we organize and make businesses and buy businesses and start businesses? And nobody don't ever really think about that shit. You know what I'm saying? All the oppression and all the setbacks and being held back, I blame that on the white supremacists. I really do. I blame that on the white supremacists. I blame us for not educating ourselves out of this shit. That's why I blame us all the fucking time, bro. Oh, you blame the white man for everything. I don't blame y'all for everything. I blame y'all for most shit. But now, a lot of the blame is falling on us. We gotta educate our kids different. For generation after generation, we just educate them to go get a job and work for somebody else. Instead of you and your homeboys start a business together. Or if you do go get a job, save that shit and invest your money some kind of different way. And it's weird as shit. And that's what's in blueprint for black power. It's the blueprint for black power. Dr. Claude Anderson, Powernomics. You know what I'm saying? The national plan to empower black America. That's our fucking problem, bro. We still will not fuck with each other like on some real shit. Like fuck with each other. You know what I'm saying? And it's strange. Like there's a movement that's going and more people are trying to buy black and stuff like that. But this shit should have never stopped. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know what the real deal is. Oh, Dune. Oh yeah, that's crazy. The movie, I don't know. Like I think Dune is and now with the CGI and everything we have, honestly, I think they need to do Dune the way they did the Lord of the Rings. Stretch that shit out into 3 long ass movies, because the first book in itself deserves like at least 2 movies. You can't tell You can't tell that story in an hour and a half, 2 hours. You fucking can't. And they tried to. The original movie, like you said, was like, it even had Sting in there, and it was cool, but they had to compact so much. Like that. Yo, Dune is crazy. That's why I say it's one of my favorite books. Yo, it shows you how the elitists think and how the elitists want control over everything, and what they'll do and how they'll kill their own family members to maintain control over resources. And then you apply that to the global elite and see how they do whatever they can to maintain control over the resources of this planet. They subjugate whoever they want to. They'll go to war against whoever they want to and assassinate Muammar Gaddafi, whoever they want to, in order to maintain control over the resources, the most valuable resources. And Dune tells that story, and it's just a story, it's just a fictional novel. But when you read that shit and see the treachery in it, it's like, yo, that shit is fucking crazy. But then, like I said again, I'm a sci-fi fan, so you're in a different planet. You got space travel, you got these fucking cool ass SEAL suits, and it's an awesome ass story, yo. Yo, no filter. Yeah, Clark Anderson, the man, yo, and he a big advocate for reparations. That's his main thing. He's like, yo, where our reparations at? You know what I'm saying? It's like Marcus Garvey had the plan. You know what I'm saying? And he did it big, but they shut him down, and then people be losing steam. You know what I'm saying? Nation of Islam, they got their plan. They be doing their thing. You know what I'm saying? But it seemed like every time, even you remember Black Wall Street, you know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers get their shit going, and then something happen, and then like motherfuckers lose steam. But I don't know. And then that's something else too. Why can't we never organize? Because every time we do, y'all blow shit up. You know what I'm saying? Every time we get a leader who says, let's organize and do for self, y'all kill them motherfuckers. Or you blow them up, or you goddamn exile them, or whatever you got to do. And that's something else too. Like, once again, not trying to place all of the blame on the outside factors, but every time we do start to organize, Black Lives Matter. Oh, they're a racist hate group. They're fucking black nationalists. Nah, we've been saying the same thing for over 100 years. Marcus Garvey, W.E.B. Du Bois, motherfucking Frederick Douglass. Everybody keeps saying Black Lives Matter. We've been saying this shit since slavery, nigga. Black Lives Matter. It's just a different slogan now. You know what I'm saying? The Black Panthers was saying the same thing. Yo, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. We just keep saying it in a different way. You know, generation after generation. I am a man. I am a man. We just come up with different slogans. You know what I'm saying? It's the same fucking thing. And even now, motherfuckers still marching around talking about Black Lives Matter. Black Lives. It's like fucking ridiculous, yo. It's fucking ridiculous. And every time we do it, once again, every group, every organization that is grassroots from the bottom, started by us to empower us and to organize us, is always co-opted and publicized as something negative, and it's taken out. You know what I'm saying? It's like we do try to organize, we do try to be a community like all other communities, but once we do start to really have us pull steam together, somebody comes and pop that shit every fucking time, yo. And that's by design. That is by design. And they're dumbing you down, and they're turning all your sons into faggots because they don't want you to have another Malcolm X. They don't want you to breed another one of them motherfuckers. They don't want that shit. They don't want another Khalid Muhammad. You can't make we just got rid of him. You think we're gonna let you educate your kids so you can raise up another Khalid Muhammad, so you can raise up another Tupac? They're not gonna let you do that shit. They're not gonna let you have another Dr. King. You know what I'm saying? What's gonna happen is a white cop is gonna come into your apartment because she thought it was her apartment, and she's gonna kill you and say it was an accident. I ain't know where I was at. I thought my house was getting broken into. And they gonna be like, okay, calm down. We understand. That's what the fuck is gonna happen. You know? X out. What's up? Am I talking too much? Ooh, I'm almost at an hour. Oh, just talking about my art, and that shit just. Don't do it, bruh. Hey, bruh. No, it ain't even worth it. It ain't even worth it. You say what? You what? Well, your child is. Don't tell me about my child. It's almost got an A and B. Oh damn! What? They told you not being a good parent. What happened? Damn! Oh, some road rage. Oh. Don't do it. Don't do it. Gonna try to cut you off? What's up, guys? Hey. Oh yeah. Oh that means you is an extremist. Man, I got so much art in here. Yo, this is crazy, son. I just been talking about the Reader series, bringing back in some pieces. One of the original pieces from the Reader series, one of the probably the more detailed, more complex pieces, for the simple fact that the books have shadows from the shelves, so there is a slight color change in each book from the shadow of the shelf above it. Just the lettering for each book. There are some made up titles in here. It's like a little treasure hunt for people who know me personally. Like if you know me personally, you can figure out which books are not actual books, but just like some little Easter eggs I stuck in this painting. This is me looking very regal and being a dominant alpha male in this very poetic pose. Uh, re-educating myself to facts about true history. So, did I make myself sound good? I meant to. The last piece I just finished, which is featuring Dr. Amos Nelson Wilson's work, Black on Black Violence. And so this is what we were talking about here. The last piece I did. The next upcoming piece will be Michelle Alexander's The New Jim Crow. And yeah, still adding to the Reader series. This is my flagship series. As long as I can educate myself, I will educate my people. And I will continue this Reader series in hopes that somebody go buy a book. My man Jay said he picking up some books, but if I ain't do, I swear to God, man, my man Jay said he read 1984. He reading Brave New World. He about to go get Black on Black Violence. And I feel paid. Like, you know, that's, I don't even have to receive no more money for the next couple of years. That's my payment right there. You know what I'm saying? Because this education is spreading. And my next series is the Skull series. I got 2 underpaintings finished already. So underpainting number 1 is done and drying. Underpainting number 2 is done and drying. Canvas number 3 is prepped and toned and is ready for underpainting, and I'm going to start putting some paint on this canvas today. And hopefully by the time I finish this underpainting, I should be able to go back and start a second layer of paint on this, which is, ooh, that's dry to the touch. Ooh, that's dry to the touch. Ooh, that's, yeah, I'll be ready. Damn, I'm excited now, so I gotta hurry up and run through this, because I can start back on this shit. And that is gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard, buddy. My man Jay, Mm-hmm. Yeah, my man Jay is picking up a lot of books from the Reader series, yo. Word up. Yo. Yo, Bert, I'm telling you, bro, you will not be disappointed. Once again, it is basically written on a college level. Do not let that deter you. I don't know your educational history. You probably got a master's degree for real. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not underestimating anybody. That's why I tell everybody to pick it up. But for the most part, the average American, even some college educated Americans, basically still kind of read on the high school level. And that's just a fact. You know what I'm saying? I dropped out of high school in 11th grade. I read just above a high school level. You know what I'm saying? Even though I dropped out, like, because I'm special. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, I'm just above high school level. So, like I said, I read the book twice and once. I read it 2 times at once. I read a page, read it again just to make sure I understood what the fuck I was reading. Read a page, read it again, read a page, read it again. And you do that for like the first 30 or 40 pages. Like I say, understand the definitions and the words and the context that he's using, because he uses similar phrases and similar words throughout the book, and you'll get used to it. You know what I'm saying? And it won't be, the last part of the book won't be as hard as the first part of the book to read. So, but it is an awesome book. Um, Crimes and Criminality, Dreams Without Means. Uh, Chasing the American Mirage, Desire and the Creation of Black on Black Criminality, Desiring Production and Regulating of Social Relations, including the Beast, Frustration and Aggression, To Be an African American Male. And it's like all these, he breaks down all these different topics, yo, and it's like, it's crazy. Really awesome book. Like I say, finally got this piece done. Show it to you guys one more time. This piece came out really, really good. Um, Even the lettering came out really well. In the background, you can see that the wall is old. The paint is chipping away. If the paint was nice and fresh, it would say black melanin. But it's there, kinda. Some people may see it, some people may not see it, but it says black melanin. You have this really, really handsome, dark-skinned brother, you know what I'm saying, picking up on this knowledge. The lettering came out really good. Black on black violence, the psychodynamics of black self-annihilation in service of white domination. Amos Nelson Wilson. So that is nice and clear and legible, which is the main thing. You know what I'm saying? The wall is nice and textured. That's a really heavy palette knife I used on there. The shirt came out crisp. That sunlight beaming down on that beautiful melanin. You know what I'm saying? Making that shit look twanky. Boy, my skin look twanky. I be glowing in that sun. How you glow like that, man? That's melanin. That's genetics, bruh. I don't have to try. I ain't gotta try to glisten. That's just how I was born that way, man. The sun just be beaming. You know what I'm saying? I don't gotta try. Black on black violence, the psychodynamics of black self-annihilation in service of white domination. Dr. Amos Nelson Wilson. The skin be no bling. So this is still drying. It doesn't have a varnish on it yet. Like I said, I had it in the basement. I'm gonna put it back down there and let it dry for About a week or so, because like I say, that paint, that white and everything on this wall is really thick, really heavy paint on there. So we're gonna let this dry for a good long time before we try to varnish it. But when we varnish it, ooh wee, masterpiece. Nothing but masterpieces. I'm trapped. I'm in the maze of paintings. I'm in the maze of amazing paintings. Now ain't that crazy? I'm in the maze of amazing paintings. Well damn, now ain't that crazy? I'm in the maze of amazing. I got a song. I just come up with it, you know. That's just something. Oh shit. Oh damn. Bitch, I'm a cow. Bitch, I'm a cow. I'm not a cat. I don't go meow. Bitch, I'm a cow. Bitch, I'm a cow. That's a hit. Alright guys. Hey Jesse. I'm right at an hour. I'm gonna focus on YouTube right now. Everybody start writing some bars. Alright, yeah, I'm gonna focus on YouTube now, guys. I do gotta get some painting done. I always enjoy chilling with you guys early in the morning. For the ones who be up at this time, some people just starting to get up. I started streaming a little bit later than I normally do anyway. It's all good though. But yeah, follow my links for the YouTube channel, or you can just search me on YouTube by my real name, Travis Prince. Really simple. Like I said, we got a few people in here and some conversations going on in YouTube right now. It's always hard for me to like focus on both conversations. So that's, hey, what's up, yo? What's my favorite painting of all time? Like not my work. Are you specifically talking about work that I created? See, yeah, I gotta focus on YouTube. I'm getting questions and stuff. All right, guys. Hey, if you just gonna chill for like another 10 or 15 minutes or whatever, definitely come over to YouTube, and we're gonna be on here talking and chilling and painting and smoking and listening to some beats. Appreciate your time, man. Holla at y'all later. Peace. End. All right, so that's the end of what was that? Facebook. Am I going to share this? 1 share, 21 comments, 77 views. And I don't know if I should share it or delete it. Was that a good session? All paintings of all time. My favorite painting of all time. Man, y'all be asking some hard ass fucking questions, man. I shared it. Norman Rockwell. The problem we all live with. Look that one up. Norman Rockwell, the problem we all live with.
Not many of us have been slapped by a seal. Now, even less people than that have been slapped by a seal with an octopus. I'm willing to put money on the line in Vegas that this is the only person in the...
Yo, this is a crazy video right here, yo.
How disrespectful slaps are. This seal...
Yo, this is some crazy ass shit, bro. I ain't never seen nothing like this.
This octopus slap. What in the haberdasheries and hemoglobin was that, man? He got slapped in the face by a seal with an octopus. Now, a lot of us have been slapped. We've been slapped by women, men, kids. We've been slapped out here. But not many of us have been slapped by a seal. Now, even less people than that have been slapped by a seal with an octopus. I'm willing to put money on the line in Vegas that this is the only person in the history of persons to ever exist to have been slapped by a seal with an octopus. Let's talk about how disrespectful slaps are. This seal thought so low of this person, he didn't want to touch him with his bare flipper. He was like, I'm going to grab this octopus and slap you with him or her. Now, what you got is a double up of disrespect. He disrespected the octopus and the man in the canoe. That's like me slapping you by grabbing your favorite aunt by the ankles and just slapping you in the face with your Aunt Katie, man. The disrespect.
Yo, how you get slapped by a seal with an octopus? Huh? How you do? What in your life? I did. It's on my Facebook, yo. Yo, what in your life did you have to do wrong to be in that particular moment in time for a seal, a wild animal, to swim up to you with a octopus in his mouth and fling that shit at your face? What is the universe telling you? What does this mean? What happened just now? A wild animal slapped me with another wild animal from the ocean. I'm a mammal that's normally on land. I don't even supposed to be out here. As soon as I come out here, I watched that shit like 5 times. And like he said, I'm willing to bet money in Vegas. This the only man in history that has ever had this happen to him. Ever. What did you do, guy? How did you build up that much karma? And it must have been like some silly ass karma neither, because it ain't even like hurt you or nothing. It's just like, remember that time you gave your little brother a wedgie and a wet willy in front of his girlfriend? Wham! You know what I'm saying? You remember that time you gave your auntie that fake lottery ticket and she thought she won $1 million and started hyperventilating and almost had an asthma attack? Wham! Wet seal, bitch. Octopus tentacles. Yo, that shit was like, wham. Jesus Christ. His whole life, his entire life led up to that fucking moment, bro. Everything he did from the exact time he put his shoes on that morning to how long it took him to brush his teeth. Like, everything had to be perfect, precisely coordinated to get to that moment in time with his seal slap you with octopus. Whew. All right, enough of that shit. Animals can do some crazy stuff. You know what painting I'm talking about now? That Norman Rockwell painting?
Hey, Metro PCS is now Metro by T-Mobile.
What?
Now you get unlimited high-speed data all month long. I'm switching.
Well, that's smart.
I'm also taking that bridge.
That's genius.
It's time for yet another adventure with HiddenIncaTours.com. Today we're in the highlands of Peru at a site called Wadi, which was built by the Wadi civilization a little more than 1,500 years ago, and the Wadi disappeared or collapsed about 1,000 years ago. So you can see it's pretty crude construction with rough stones and clay mortar, pretty consistent style, relatively primitive, much more primitive than the Inca. But then we stumble across this that was excavated. That's a basalt style about 1,000 years ago. So you can see it's pretty crude construction, rough stones and clay mortar, pretty consistent style, relatively primitive, much more primitive than the Inca. But then we stumble across this that was excavated. That's a basalt slab weighing between 10 and 20 tons, and clearly was not done by the Wadi people. But that's not the only evidence. Again, as we walk through the main Wadi site, this was the capital of the Wadi people and covers more than 1,000 hectares. We see irregularities here now in the stones. You see the slabs, rough, and then cut out cubes. Very intriguing. And then we stumble across these, which appear to be irrigation pipes of some kind. Notice the beautifully drilled holes, and this is in basalt stone, which is very hard, once again. So this is clearly evidence of lost ancient high technology that the Wadi discovered when they found this ancient location. And here again, we walk through and we see what appear to be plumbing or irrigation pipe sections that all fitted together at one point. The actual true location of these was elsewhere on the site, but they've been piled here, and that allows us to observe them quite closely. So again, we have the rough work done by the Wadi people, and then much more sophisticated work that clearly was done prior, because the Spanish conquistadors couldn't achieve this, and almost all of the ancient sites of the indigenous people were forced to be abandoned. Now here again, you see the rough walls, but then the beautifully cut slabs on the bottom. Two very different styles of construction. The slabs appear to have been cut with some kind of saw, and then when you look at the staircase on the left, you see how crude it is. So obviously the Wadi people discovered an ancient site built using some kinds of high technology in the very distant past. Again, as I said, the site is very extensive.
Bro, and that's the thing, like, even when you go to Egypt and you see the fucking pyramids. Now the pyramids.
Hi, this is Brian Forster, and everything that you'll see in this video is striations, which are clearly saw marks. And there's no way that that was a copper saw or bronze saw with silica sand being used, because silica sand is about the same hardness as the granite itself. So it had to have been a saw of a harder material, likely diamond, or possibly something even more exotic than that. This is located in a dark corner of the 2 to 2.5 feet You see, the vertical weathering had to have been the result of precipitation, and so far at least 200 geologists have stated, so it's not as if it was pushing or pulling water. It clearly rotated around the central axis, but what its original function was is unknown. It is not what the authorities call a lotus bowl. Obviously, it's a piece of some kind of machine. And these are some of the turned bowls, very, very hard stone.
Yeah, they say there's
Again, there are not 30 miles away. And the blocks weigh up to 60 tons apiece. And it looks like catastrophic damage happened here as well. So we'll see lots of examples of ancient catastrophic damage, not done by invading armies, but by natural events. And the somewhat famous light bulbs of Dendara. Were they actual light pyramids? Based on the dynastic Egyptians studying the Great Pyramid, which preceded the dynastic Egyptians. And look at the size of this shaft, of which there are many.
Yeah, nobody don't really know where Atlantis was at. Some people say it was the Eye of Africa. Santorini. I've never heard that Atlantis was there. I've heard of underwater pyramids though, and some people even think there's a lost civilization under the ice caps on Antarctica. That's why the Antarctic Treaty was signed, so that nobody can go there and fuck with this shit. But you can't deny that the more ancient builders were better than the history that we currently know as ancient history. There was something that came before
I have not played with
the
this
dynastic
like
Egyptians.
This. Let's try this thing. I'm excited.
When you see shit like this, this is in Peru, and I'm definitely
huge blocks of what they. And now compare the staircase built by the Inca, the large site found by the Inca, and so they built a massive complex around the megalithic aspect that they found. And here again, one of the large terraces built by the Inca, not a complex feat engineering-wise, but lots and lots of work. And now compare the staircase built by the Inca to this wall. It's like night and day. Whoever was responsible for this, that you see here, had to have some level of high technology.
Yeah, but once again, man, like hypotheses and theories on where Atlantis was at is irrelevant. Like this shit, you can go and see this shit. You know what I'm saying? Everybody says, oh, it could have been here because of the top area of the land and this and that. Like, I'll look it up in a minute. You know, I'm really interested in shit like that. But I have a passport. I'm trying to travel and see these places with the megalithic structures. If there are no megalithic structures at this site that says, hey, there was somebody here doing some fucking construction with some type of technology that we're not aware of, I ain't even interested in that shit. Like, most people like, I'm going to the Giza. Like, nah, you can go to Peru, you can go to Petra and see that shit in Petra. I'm thinking about going to fucking Baalbek, Lebanon, and go look at fucking the Temple of Baalbek, because that shit is fucking crazy.
Case compared to wall. And as we walk up the Inca staircase, we're going to get a very close look at the much older megalithic construction. Again, the stone is called rhyolite. It's very hard. And you see how tightly fitting these joints are. They're quite absolutely incredible. And again, as we walk along, we see what's left of the megalithic construction.
That shit is amazing.
There was some kind of cataclysm in the distant past that damaged the structures. And then as we walk along, here again we see Inca repair work. And yet again, the incredible tightness of the fit of the megalithic. You can't fit a human hair in these joints. They're three-dimensional joints too. It's like marshmallows being squished together. This is beyond our present level of technology.
I gotta go see some of this shit, yo.
Just like there was on the...
I swear, I gotta go see some of this shit.
Can Santorini be Atlantis? To answer this question, you need to know what the evidence is. Almost 100% of the evidence we have about Atlantis comes from one source. This source is Plato's Dialogues. Although they are called Plato's Dialogues...
Yeah, Plato got it from his great-great-grandfather, who said he got it from the Egyptians, so it's a retelling of a retelling. And if the information came all the way from the Egyptians, why would it be in Greece and not somewhere closer to Africa?
They are the written version of a story told by Solon 200 years prior to Plato. So we're told. The facts. From the dialogues we know these things. The island contained red is kept wet.
Is the variety called aquatic and 4 phase puddings in ash and pumice. Although this wasn't very lethal, it laid down 7 meters of ash and pumice.
That shit's not telling me nothing I don't know. What happened to Atlantis? That's the only thing. Can Santorini be Atlantis? The best documentary. The history of Santorini.
Hey, we're Roots, and we can save you up to 52% of it.
Oh, this is just saying volcanoes in Greece. It doesn't say that it's Atlantis. Santorini, the lost Atlantis, islands of Greece.
In beautiful islands, not only of Greece, but of the entire world.
No, this isn't really, I don't see whatever you're trying to say. Like somebody's putting out some new kind of information. Way more modern. When you go to all these megalithic sites and they show you, like, look, there's these, when the Incas build their walls and constructions, they use what seems common sense, a rock or a brick, a mud brick or whatever that's large enough to support weight, but easy enough for a person to carry and stack and carry and stack. And that's how they built their fucking walls. They stack manageable size rocks together, bricks, sometimes with mortar. But then you see these stones that you cannot carry. A few people may be able to move one at a time, but you can't carry these bitches by yourself. So why would you use a construction that would require so much manpower to move one block and then have these weird ass cuts in it and then stack them so high, these massive blocks? Like, who the fuck did that? It's not the same people who built these little walls with these little rocks. They're not the same people. And you can see the construction side by side, and the more finely crafted, larger blocks are deeper in the earth and older. Like the dude said, we just found this other site. We started undigging this, and below that is some megalithic stones. Like, where the fuck did that come from? And it's deeper, it's older. That shit is weird, bro. There's something happened 13,000, 14,000 years ago But prior to that, we had motherfuckers was living, yo, like on some real shit. Graham Hancock, yeah, that's why I listen to Graham Hancock a lot. He talk about ayahuasca a lot too, yo.
As we've been looking at all the wrong places for its location, since everyone assumes that it must be under the oceans. Not only did the lost city of Atlantis actually exist, but its true location has been hiding in plain sight for thousands of years, completely unnoticed. As we've been looking at all the wrong places for its location, since everyone assumes that it must be under the ocean somewhere, such as in the depths of the Atlantic Ocean or the Mediterranean Sea, which have long been considered to be the most likely places for its existence. And no, I am not about to suggest that Antarctica is the hidden location of Atlantis either. Because in this video, I'm going to use the exact words that Plato used to describe Atlantis, its location, and the geographical land features that surround it, which were recorded in Plato's dialogues, the Critias and the Timaeus. And many people are not even aware that the information contained in Plato's writings of Atlantis actually originate from the ancient Egyptians. And the details that Plato shared of Atlantis, which I'm about to share with you in a side-by-side comparison, will show you that the Ricard structure located in Mauritania, Africa, also commonly referred to as the Eye of the Sahara or the Eye of Africa, which most people have never even heard of, by the way, is the most likely location for the lost city of Atlantis, as it matches so many precise details of what Plato wrote. But it must first be mentioned that according to mainstream academics...
But my man say this shit in Greece. Now, when somebody says in Greece, somebody says in Africa. Who got the most evidence, though? You know what I'm saying?
And historians, the legend of Atlantis is simply fictional and has been commonly referred to as a myth or even pseudo-history, which completely contradicts Plato and Solon, which described an empire referred to as Atlantis, which was known for being technologically advanced, with noble and powerful people possessing vast wealth, luxury, and knowledge, and even military superiority, and is described as being destroyed in a single day and night of misfortune, which caused the island of Atlantis to disappear into the depths of the sea, related to a massive earthquake and likely a tsunami. So first things first, Plato received all the information about Atlantis from Solon, who was his ancestral relative separated by 6 generations. Solon was born in Athens, Greece, some 2,600 years ago, and was an Athenian statesman, lawmaker, and poet, remembered particularly for his efforts to legislate against political corruption and economic and social decline in Athens. He was known to be a person of wisdom and outstanding character. In Solon's later years, he traveled to Egypt in the search of knowledge, and Egypt at that time had the longest documented historical records available. And he visited Neith's temple at Sais, where he learned of the history of Atlantis from a high Egyptian priest who translated the hieroglyphs that were carved into stone within the temple, which also described that Egypt was once a colony of the Empire of Atlantis. And Neith's temple no longer exists today, as it was destroyed long ago when it was consumed by what is now the Nile Delta swamplands. However, thanks to Solon's detailed notes, the information was retained and kept for 6 generations within Plato's family, before it was published by Plato himself in the Critias and the Timaeus dialogues approximately 2,400 years ago. So one of the first things to point out is the supposed date of Atlantis' destruction according to what Solon had learned while visiting Egypt, which was that the event that destroyed the lost city had occurred 9,000 years earlier, which is a very interesting time frame, considering that Solon visited Egypt 2,600 years ago. And 9,000 years plus 2,600 years equates to 11,600 years before present time today, which just so happens to coincide with the Younger Dryas climate catastrophe, which of course I've discussed in many other videos. Long story short, to anyone that's not familiar or new to the channel, there was a massive change in global temperatures, sea levels fluctuated, a massive extinction event of 75% of mammals in North America occurred. There's even evidence of global fires said to have been larger than the ones that occurred during the extinction event that killed off the dinosaurs, scorching at least 10% of the Earth's land surface. The evidence for this event is scientifically overwhelming and is likely related to a fragmented comet. And the point is that it's very likely that this event is related in some way to the destruction of Atlantis. And for more details, I highly recommend you look into the brilliant work of Randall Carlson and Graham Hancock. But what are the odds that this date of 11,600 years ago would match so perfectly? And that's not the only thing that matches up so closely. Most notably, Atlantis was said to be made up of concentric circles, 3 rings of water and 2 of land. In fact, here are Plato's exact words. There were alternate zones of sea and land, larger and smaller, encircling one another. There were 2 of land and 3 of water, which were turned as if with a lathe, each having its circumference equidistant every way from the center. And here you can see a few animated examples of what people have created based off of Plato's description of Atlantis. Now, compare this to the Ricart structure. Just look at this. The first thing that you must understand when you see this is that this is far larger than it looks. For example, this photo right here was taken from high altitude, and what you're seeing is something around 20 miles across, or 32 kilometers. And this particular photo does not even show the entire structure, which is approximately 30 miles or 48 kilometers across. And this site can really only be appreciated from space and satellite imagery, as it covers a vast area. In fact, the Ricart structure wasn't even discovered until the Gemini 4 mission in 1965, and is now a common landmark utilized by astronauts. This thing was hiding in plain sight for thousands of years, but when you look at photos of it from the ground, you have no idea what you're looking at. Only from the sky can you understand that you are part of this massive structure containing circles within circles. And in this example, you can see one of the outer rings in the distance, yet from the ground, it just looks like a hill. It's remarkable at just how much it does resemble an eye, and it makes perfect sense as to why it was given the nickname of the Eye of the Sahara and the Eye of Africa. And by the way, it is located approximately 250 miles or 400 kilometers inland off the coast of West Africa in a very remote area which is rarely visited and again unknown to most people. What's even more fascinating than its size and shape is that scientists do not know what it is or how it was formed, although they do think that it is natural, and it was first theorized to have been an impact site from a meteor, but that was ruled out as there is no evidence of an impact. In fact, scientists have never seen anything like this anywhere else throughout the entire world. The number one guess is that it was probably formed around 100 million years ago as the supercontinent Pangaea was ripped apart by plate tectonics.
Well, that's what I'm saying, bro. When you go back into antiquity like that, he has just as much proof as any other documentary you watch. You know what I'm saying? It says that this site is the true Atlantis. Just like you saying, oh, there's plenty of documentaries. That's why you just listen to everything. You just can't listen to one person. I've heard all that Greece shit before. There is nothing you can really physically go there and touch. All they're saying is the land structures. It's how Plato described the rings within the rings. And so people have been looking for sites like that across the globe where they find rings within rings. And yeah, there are a couple places that look like that. But then there's also, he talks about mountains and all other kind of surrounding areas. And plus, the story came from Egypt.
And what is now Africa and South America. They theorize that molten rock was pushed upwards towards the surface, but never made it all the way through, thus creating a dome of rock layers. And they suggest that at some point around 100 million years ago, the eye of the structure erupted, collapsing the bubble which makes up the center part of the structure, and erosion did the rest of the work to create what you see today, which is clearly heavily eroded. But this, of course, is all speculation, as it cannot be proven, and again, we've never seen anything like this anywhere else throughout the world. But here's where things start to get really interesting. It just so happens that the diameter of its outer circle is approximately 23.5 kilometers, or 14.5 miles, which is basically equivalent to the size and dimensions provided by Plato when converting from stadia to modern measurements. For example, the circular island of Atlantis was described as being 127 stadia. Well, one stadia is 607 feet, and 607 feet times 127 stadia is 77,089 feet. Convert that measurement, and that is 23.5 kilometers. I measured this numerous times on Google Earth, and I got anywhere from 21 kilometers to 24 kilometers. Most of my measurements were 22 kilometers in diameter, and again, this is virtually identical to Plato's and Solon's documentation. And although my own measurements through Google Earth cannot be considered exact, it is unbelievably close. So where we're at so far is that the Ricard structure matches Plato's description of having 3 circles of water and 2 of land, which is what you would see at the Ricard based off its design if there were water flowing into it. And not only that, the diameter of the outer circles matches the size described by Plato within a very small margin, if not identical. But this next detail that Plato describes is extremely interesting. He stated, in quote, "The mountains of the island of Atlantis was celebrated for their number and size and beauty," adding that the surrounding mountains of the city flowed with rivers.
Pennsylvania has a choice between Lou Barletta, who voted to let insurance companies charge older people more than you.
And this part of the island looked toward the south and was sheltered from the north. So he is stating that the mountains were on the north side, sheltering the city to the south, which is exactly what you see at the Ricards. And the mountains are on the north side, but not only that. When you look at detailed satellite photography, you can see the evidence of multiple rivers that were spilling over the side of the mountains towards Atlantis. Can you imagine what this place looked like when it wasn't so dry? Just like Plato stated, the mountains of the island of Atlantis were celebrated for their number and size and beauty. And it's a shame that the Ricard is so remote and visited so rarely, as there are so few pictures available of the view of these mountains when standing at ground level. But I can just imagine that these mountains were lush and beautiful green, with rivers and waterfalls pouring over these mountains. And the rivers were clearly there. We can see that. So it's certain that this place once looked much differently than the barren, dry desert that we see today. And this clearly matches Plato's description, and it becomes even more compelling when you consider that Plato stated that the city of Atlantis opened up to the sea at the south. Well, look at these photos, where you can see that there is an opening at the south of the Ricard structure. So if there was once water here, and if it neighbored the sea, this would further match Plato's description. I mean, doesn't this match what a waterway outlet would look like? And not only that, doesn't the entire region look like it was blasted by flowing water or a tsunami? You can see the striations in the land going from west to east from the ocean. Tell me that this doesn't look like a massive wave or a steady flow of water completely altered the terrain. And it's also worth mentioning that scientists have emphasized that the Ricard is heavily eroded, which the circular walls clearly show us. Now, consider Plato's exact words in regards to the aftermath of the cataclysm. Quote, "Atlantis is part of the Atlantic which is no longer accessible by ship. Atlantis, when sunk by the earthquake, became an impassable barrier of mud to voyagers sailing from hence to any part of the ocean. In other words, it became landlocked." Again, if this is the site of Atlantis, and if the details shared by Solon and Plato are true, and if the Ricard structure was the site of Atlantis, then it's not hard to see that perhaps a lot of sand or mud was pushed into Africa from the ocean during some sort of catastrophic event. And let's not forget the key detail that he mentioned regarding that the area surrounding Atlantis was a level plain which was smooth and even. Is this not another match when compared to the Ricard? Because here you can see multiple views and angles of it. And Plato said that Atlantis was sheltered by mountains to the north that were facing the south, and that the south part of Atlantis opened to the sea. So isn't that what we're seeing here, assuming that the ocean was once much further inland? And something else we should consider is that the sands of the Sahara actually originate from the sea. An interesting fact that many people are not aware of. And just to give you a comparison of just how massive this region is, compare it to the size of the United States. Perhaps the remnants of Atlantis are now under the Sahara Desert. Now here is another geological detail that matches Plato's description. He stated, quote, "The stone which they quarried was white, another black, and a third red," going on to say that the main city was constructed with red, black, and white rocks. This region just so happens to have endless amounts of loose rock which match these colors, particularly black and red, but we also see lighter colors mixed in with them as well. And real quick, what you're looking at are a few screenshots from an outstanding documentary titled Visiting Atlantis, which was filmed in 2011 by George S. Alexander and Natalice Rosen. And this documentary was the inspiration for my video, and I highly recommend you visit their website, visitingatlantis.com, for more details. And in fact, this video is currently only available on the Gaia Network. That documentary goes on to point out that the center island of the Ricard has fresh spring water that flows from it. And this here is a not-so-great screenshot from that documentary where the locals dug a well to prove that fresh spring water flowed from the center island of the Ricard, despite the fact that the underground water in the surrounding area is all salt water, which is interesting considering that this is 250 miles from the ocean, perhaps further evidence that this site once met the sea. This detail about the fresh spring water coming out of the center island is significant when you compare it to what Plato said, quote, "The god Poseidon found no difficulty in making special arrangements for the center island, bringing up two springs of water from beneath the earth, one of warm water, the other of cold." And he also specifically stated that a well near the central Acropolis provided the city with fresh water. So let's take a second to consider all the details regarding the Eye of the Sahara and Plato's description of Atlantis. First, Atlantis was said to have been destroyed 11,600 years ago, coinciding precisely with the Younger Dryas climate catastrophe. It's a circular structure that would have been made up of 3 rings of water and 2 of land, which would be the case at the Ricard if it had water in it. It has a diameter of 23.5 kilometers, which matches Plato's description of it. There are mountains to the north, which also have evidence of rivers flowing over them, just as Plato described. The entire area is surrounded by a vast plain. The south opened up to the sea, which again, if the sea were further inland, it would match the description. And if there was a tsunami that cut Atlantis off from the ocean with mud, as Plato described, then you can see in the satellite imagery how this would be possible. The center island also had fresh spring water, just as described by Plato, and despite the fact that the surrounding area has salt water underground. And the region also has black, red, and lighter color rocks. And there are other details described by Plato that I haven't even mentioned, such as that there were a great number of elephants on the island. And the documentary Visiting Atlantis pointed out that many skeletal remains of elephants have been found in the area and are even depicted on ancient rock art in the area as well. And there are other details to support that there was once a civilization there. For example, the discovered artifacts of tools and gold jewelry. And this is very interesting considering that the Ricard structure is in a remote area of the Western Sahara. But it's not just that. Plato described that Atlantis had an abundance of copper and gold. Well, Mauritania today, their #1 exports are iron, copper, and gold. Now, obviously, when you consider everything that Plato said about it, the Ricard structure is a very compelling case that must be considered. However, there is one significant detail which would exclude this site as a possible location of Atlantis, and that is its elevation being 1,300 feet above sea level. And even though the Earth's sea levels were some 400 feet higher during the height of the last ice age, that is still a considerable gap. That is unless the geography of the region was much different and the land was pushed up due to the movement of plate tectonics, which, let's not forget, the theory proposed by scientists as to the formation of the Ricard structure was that it was, quote, uplifted by molten rock that was pushed towards the surface from underneath. So consider Antarctica as an example in that the bedrock that sits below the continent laying underneath the ice is rising. And this is occurring at a very slow rate, and I am not suggesting that this is exactly what happened to the Ricard structure. I'm simply pointing out that we should consider that some plate movement may happen much quicker under certain situations that we are not yet familiar with. I mean, we were shocked to learn that the 2011 Japanese earthquake and tsunami moved the coast of mainland Japan by 8 feet in a matter of moments, and even shifted the Earth's axis. So we must consider that we don't even know what the Ricard structure is or how it was actually formed, and considering that it is so unusual, we must open our minds to new possibilities. If the Ricard structure is indeed Atlantis, then we have to ask ourselves whether this unusual land feature is natural or could it be man-made? Is it possible that what we're looking at is a man-made creation, or perhaps could it be a combination? A very unusual land feature that humans took over and modified to be an oasis for a civilization. You want to hear another fascinating detail? So the legend of Atlantis states that it was an empire made up of 10 kingdoms, and the island of Atlantis was the capital. And the god Poseidon gave birth to 5 sets of twins, so 10 children, and each one of those children went on to rule each one of those 10 kingdoms. So allegedly, Poseidon had 5 sets of twins. Does anyone want to guess what part of the world has the highest birth rates of twins per capita? Nigeria. That is one interesting fact considering its geographical proximity to Mauritania and the Ricard structure. So although we cannot say with absolute certainty that Atlantis actually existed or that the Ricard structure would be the location of it, it obviously has some very compelling and specific similarities to Solon's and Plato's description. Like I mentioned earlier, according to the experts, Atlantis is just a fictional story that Plato made up to encourage better behavior among governments and its citizens. And modern academics are saying that the story of Atlantis must be false. Yet Plato and Solon were known for their brilliance of mind and strength of character. And this is the only example, at least that I'm aware of, where they were ever accused of lying about something. And the Egyptian description of Atlantis at the Temple of Neith in Sais, Egypt, no longer exists today, although perhaps those stones could be found underneath the Nile River somewhere, but it did exist for several hundred years, possibly a millennia. And I'm having difficulty finding an exact date on the temple's destruction by the Nile River, but it was long after Solon and Plato had died. So why would Solon and Plato lie about something that could be verified back then, as it was common for people to travel to Egypt, and the temple still existed at that time? And by the way, I have to point out something really interesting and, well, honestly a bit disturbing, which is that if you go to the Wikipedia page of the Ricard structure, you will not find one single word about Atlantis. And when you go to the Atlantis page on Wikipedia, you will not find one single word about the Ricard structure either. In fact, if you go to the page related to various hypotheses for the location of Atlantis, you will not find one single word related to the Ricard structure or the Eye of Africa. Nothing. And guess what else? Wiki has locked their page on Atlantis, only allowing certain unknown individuals the capability of editing the page, but whoever created it certainly made sure to mention the words pseudo-history in the first few sentences for all to see. So there is actually a lot more information to share about what Plato stated about Atlantis, and I was going to share it all in this one video, but this is getting so long, so now I'm going to make a part 2, which will probably be my next video, as I already have all the information put together. I may wait, and if something new headline makes the news, I might make that video first, but be expecting that very soon, because there are so many details to share about the people of Atlantis and specifics about the kingdom itself, which you will find fascinating, because these details haven't really been shared, and you wouldn't know about it unless you go looking for the information yourself. So with all this said, I guess I'll close it up there, but leave a comment and share your thoughts on all of this, and definitely hit the like button and subscribe, but I'll leave it at that. I'm Jimmy, this is Bright Insights, and I have many more videos to come on a whole wide variety of topics. Take care, everybody.
My daughter Emily was only 22 when she overdosed and died. Emily left behind a 9-month-old baby girl. I'm grateful for the work Senator Bob Casey's doing. He teamed up with Republicans to pass a bill that will help grandparents get the support we need.
In the spots where the masonry was in the wall, aimed in of the somewhat a symbol of the victory of the a definite statement as
that through that door. Chris Dunn here with his gauge, which is accurate over which is red granite from Aswan, brought 500 miles from the quarry. It's about at least 2 feet. To construct a building without mortar and width, because the stones have to fit perfectly in place. It's even been written that the Sphinx was being repaired, that caused once the head exposed with a bunch being under the special, and we have to give credit to the great Dr. being converted into the Sphinx Temple and possibly also the Valley Temple nearby. Okay, we're now going to discuss the erosion of the Sphinx, and we have to give credit to the great Dr. Robert Schoch from Boston University, who first was brought here by John Anthony West in the early 90s, and did a detailed study of the erosion of the Sphinx. It was featured in this NBC special, Mysteries of the Sphinx, which was nominated for 2 Emmys and won an Emmy for Best Original Screenplay. As Dr. Schoch explains, limestone is sedimentary rock, forms in sediments under the ocean. It's called nummulitic limestone. It has little seashells, nummullites. So it does not form uniform. Limestone forms heterogeneous, not homogeneous, meaning you could have a hard layer, soft layer, harder layer, soft layer, harder layer, hard layers, harder layer. So what he found is the particular erosion that we see here, some of the hardest layer. He actually mapped the whole stratigraphy of this side, each layer, and its hardness and its durability. So what he found was some of the hardest layers of deposition are the most eroded. So he concluded that it would take rainfall beating at an angle for thousands of years to do this. Not a flash flood, not a flash rain, but steady erosion for thousands and thousands of years. The hardest erosion layers are eroded. And it has this particular rounded surface, which Dr. Schoch says is classic water erosion, not wind and sand, which we can see in the 4th Dynasty tombs, cut away, eaten away by the sand. This rolling, rounded is clearly water erosion, and clearly cannot be because of climatic conditions less than 8 to 10,000 years that the climate was here to cause that type of rainfall. That's his conservative estimate. We say well over 10,000 years. Hakim placed the date of the Sphinx at 54,000 years. What also Dr. Schoch found was the erosion in the front of the Sphinx was 8 feet deep. The erosion layer in the back of the Sphinx was 4 feet deep. Not all constructed at the same time. First was the head and the forelegs, then the body and the tail much, much later, thousands of years later. So she's not done it all at the same time, but that obviously the head first. And also he concluded that the top layer that you can see was actually the ground level of the plateau. Only what was now the head would have been sticking out. It would have been just a limestone outcropping, originally what you called a yardang. Only the head. And so the head is out of proportion. We know she's been carved back many, many times. According to Hakim's tradition, the original head of the Sphinx was like Sekhmet or Tefnut, if we see her in images, a lioness-human combination. I believe it's been recarved back by who was called Menes Men Aha, carved it in face of his mother, black African woman. But clearly the erosion hit a lioness-human combination. I believe it's been recarved back by who was called Menes Men Aha, carved it in face of his mother, black African woman. But clearly the a lioness-human combination. I believe it's been recarved back by who was called Menes Men Aha, carved it in face of his mother, black African woman. But clearly the erosion is the smoking gun. This cannot be caused by wind and sand. This is classic water erosion.
What kind of African woman? That's why they don't want you to go too far back in antiquity. They don't want you to figure out where Atlantis is at or who the true Atlanteans were. They don't want you to know who the megalithic stone cutters were. The people who were able to cut those stones, they don't want you to know that. Because it all leads back to black. The first people on this planet was dark-skinned people. and there's no way to get around it, so they'll just leave that part of history lost in the dust. Because the deeper you dig, the darker the shit gets. And motherfuckers that shit don't settle well when you realize that the creators of civilization are now treated like bastards and are stomped down and kept at the bottom rung of the social ladder. And that shit is a shift your whole fucking paradigm. That shit is a shock religion and every fucking thing. When you realize that the remnants of the originals are now treated like the fucking outcasts. and we get horrible customer service. Damn.
At least 10,000 years old.
But that's what he's saying, yo. Goddamn. You know, they say, oh, the pyramid is 5,000 years old, but he just said, you know, Africans was doing this shit 10,000 years ago. Okay, who came before the Africans? The Atlanteans. Motherfuckers been black too. Who came before the Atlanteans? The aliens. The aliens been black too.
Inside the Great Pyramid. Mr. Robert.
Who built it, the craft?
I don't know who built it, but what I found out is these things inhabit Saturn. That's where I first discovered them. Yeah.
When you say you got claustrophobia, I don't know what that means. Do you mean that you became... Oh, yes. So you were finding things that they thought they covered up.
Yeah. Not personally, but an image of one which I wish I had cut out. You know, these things can come in real low.
Yeah.
They're all sizes.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same deal as airplanes. You know, they're Cubs and all that kind of thing.
Right, and so when you're talking about the craft in the rings of Saturn, you're talking about something huge, right?
Yes.
Much bigger than we could even conceive of. I understand. What is it? I don't know. What was it? 70,000 square feet.
I could, looking down on the rings, I could see parallel lines crossing the ring, all the rings at once. Mm-hmm. That's about as long as you can get them.
That's incredible.
But I could tell that those lines demarked the outside of an object.
Mm-hmm. So are you sort of saying, when you say you got claustrophobia, I don't know what that means. Do you mean that you became sort of tired of working in this above top secret area?
Yeah, no, I'm not tired, and it was very exciting. I got to see everything that went on all over the world.
Wow.
Nothing much has changed.
Yeah? Okay, but have you heard that NASA alters their footage coming from the moon, etc.?
I know some of the things they do with it, yeah.
Okay, so even their footage is not always dependable, right? Although I guess it's dependable to begin with. It's just that they start altering it later.
I have been told by a very reliable source. He says, I thought we darkened that enough that you wouldn't find it. Fine.
Oh, yes? So you were finding things that they thought they covered up.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
That must have been a lot of fun.
And this guy says, well, I suppose you want me to go out and tell everybody about that. I said, no, I don't want to embarrass you. That doesn't make any difference to me. Whatever you want to do is fine with me. I'm just saying I found what you saw. Tell you, at this juncture, I don't know what I have. I finally went to put it in a vault that the people claim nobody can get in here, including the government. But unfortunately, somehow, somebody did.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And what they do, they garble it. They run it through something and they garble it.
So it's no longer...
And sometimes there's just nothing on there. And I know that there should be something, and there's nothing. So I don't know how much of the early stuff I can put together. What I do know is I can put together at any time. I know pretty much what's going on. Oh.
And this is the ring, right? This part, this is the ring?
That ends up being the ring.
Yeah.
It's
hot
plasma.
Oh, really? Okay, so, and what your theory is they're manufacturing it, is that correct?
It comes, that's the exhaust from this thing.
From the craft?
Yes. It loaded a lot of energy, you know? And,
Okay, but you're saying things are getting critical because I'm really curious. Are you saying that those craft are coming here? Is that why it's critical?
well, I'm saying, in effect, if they do, and there's a good probability that that is possible, then, hey, you got to get with it. You can't wait around. Okay? But you see, no one really in this country accepts the concept that at Saturn, those things are there.
Right.
People have got to be made to understand that those things are real.
Right. And you say there's something going on now. It's becoming critical, is how you're terming it.
Yeah, it's much more prevalent than what we saw in 1985 or a little earlier.
Meaning there's more activity on Saturn, do you think, or just more activity around this question about the rings and the craft in the rings?
No, there's actual activity.
There is.
You know, to start off with, Uranus, which is one of the planets, did not have rings.
That's right.
But now it does.
All right.
See? And so that kind of thing is going on. And we really ought to get to the root of it.
Okay, do you have a theory on why Uranus suddenly has rings?
Well, sure, it's the exhaust. I would expect something to happen.
You would?
Yes.
When you say something to happen, what are you suggesting?
As far as my own profession is,
other activity on other planets. Okay, and are you...
Or these things.
What you think is...
What she saw. That's where new ones are getting their energy. You start out small, just like a baby.
The plasma vehicle?
Yes.
They power the...
Withstanding those high temperatures. And so...
Sure.
They could get pumped up really nicely.
Well, let me space program.
I don't know about
the public, and also misleads the public on certain things by doctoring photos, by covering up. We were to look at this, say that the defense.
And now that was a plasma indicator. Moons that got there.
But the rings that are suddenly appearing around Uranus.
I can't find the exact part of this documentary, but this dude says he saw some aliens get off of a ship and they were black. She was like, what do you mean, like they had darker skin? He's like, nah, they were like black. Their skin was black, like black people. I was like, what? Black people getting off the spaceships? Word?
Well, like I said, they didn't like it. The public embraced it, they loved it. I mean, it was very obvious. But, boy, academics. Luckily, I was heavily supported by the late Professor Edwards, the man who brought the Tutankhamun exhibition here, Sir Ivan Edwards, who died a few years ago. And they were the Egyptologists were rather taken aback because he came on the BBC program and lent quite a bit of support on this idea. So it caused quite a stir. Can we move ahead? There you see the correlation. Now, where Hancock and I got together in 1995 was that when you looked at this correlation, although you had a similar pattern, the angle that the belt stars made was rather different from what was on the ground, a rather sharp angle. And you know this feeling when you go at somebody's dinner party and you're sitting at the table and across the wall there's a painting or a picture and it's slightly off? You know what I mean? You know this feeling? Like you can't, I mean, you wait for everybody to sort of look somewhere else and you just go and, you know, it's damn annoying. Well, first of all, you know, this you know, you feel like moving this pyramid a bit, put it in line with the others. You know, this little offset is so annoying. And then, this angle, you wanted to, well, you can't. You can't turn the stars, that's one thing for sure. You can't turn the pyramids. You could try, but the stars, you cannot move them. Well, you can. Actually, you can. You can move them if you go back in time. And here's the leap. The leap. Egyptologists said the pyramids are built in 2500 BC and that's it. And I said to Graham, let's just go and see. Whoopsie-dopsie. I mean, I'm having enough trouble with this theory as it is. And if you start talking about a different time, it's going to be bad. But what it boiled down to is this, is that we reasoned out from the text that these stars are identified to Orion's belt, and Orion's belt is identified, these pyramids, and Orion's belt is identified to the god Osiris. And the god Osiris was supposed to have come down 5 minutes, bad. Give me 10. Are you bored with this? You're having fun? I don't know. Having fun, huh? Let them have fun. 12. I come from Egypt. Sorry? Yeah, keep going. I have to move a bit faster. I might not be able to do black Genesis. But that's the fun bit. So, what we said is, they speak about what is known, and Andy knows very well. There's a term in ancient Egypt that is used very often to describe the origins of their civilization. They call it Zep Tepi. It literally translates as the first time. And the first time of when Osiris and Isis ruled and established pharaonic civilization. And this first time, well, what is it? And we reason that because of precession, because of this cycle, now what happens to when you observe, you can run it on any astronomical program, they're very cheap these days. If you run it and you put the stars in the south, you'll find that they go down and they go up and they go down and they go up in cycles of 26,000 years. There is a low part, a nadir, and there is a high point. We're near the high point, by the way, now. The low point could be the beginning. Let's try it, we said. And as we went tick-tock, 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 I remember we did a program for Discovery Channel, not only they started going down, but they started adjusting themselves. And when we reach the bottom line, the nadir, 10,500 BC, belong, you get a correlation. Now, before we publish anything like this, let's make damn sure. You know, we've got several programs and we tried all this thing. But there was something very, 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 very inviting about this, is that not only the stars are locked with the pyramids, but the Milky Way redressed itself and seemed like to be a projection of the Nile. I'll show you in a minute. And even more interestingly, they locked at a very specific time of the year, which was the spring equinox. And immediately we thought, spring equinox, that means the sun is rising due east at that time. Precisely when the stars are on the meridian. Perfect lock. And of course, immediately we said, due east, boy, there is another monument that is looking due east on that side. And that is the Great Sphinx. Can we have the next one? Here, as you can see it more in stellar terms. You can try it out. Huh? I mean, this is all falsifiable. I mean, it's not... Right. Next slide. We'll have to move a bit faster. Okay. Now, not only, here's the log. Orion's belt in the south, matching the pyramid, the Nile with the Milky Way, and the sun rising due east, and in the sky, at that time, only at that time, was the constellation of Leo. It only worked for that time. There seemed to have been some sky image that was projected on the ground. It may be a coincidence, but it's 1,000,000 to 1 coincidence in my books. And so we published this. We wrote People of Genesis. And boy, did they get upset. Really upset, because the astronomy worked, it fitted the text, but the date, they did not like it. Egyptian history began at best in 3000 BC. There was nobody there. There was no one there. Couldn't be. Annoyingly for them, at the time we were doing this, came John West and Robert Schoch with their geological theory, arguing that the Sphinx was much, much older. And now we had two sciences, hard sciences, astronomy and geology, bugging the Egyptologists big time. And they had to deal with it. No? Put it in your pipe and smoke it, we said. And they're still dealing with it. Well, they first tried to ignore it. The well-known astronomer Archie Roy, who was one of your famous astronomers here from Glasgow University, who's not well at the moment, a disciple of Alexander Thom, one of the founders of archaeoastronomy, came on one of my programs and said, well, you know, the usual thing, they say first you're mad, then they say, well, let's look at it, and then they say, well, we don't like it. And then they say, it kind of works. And then they ignore it and say, well, we knew about it all along. It's there. It's nakedly there. The pyramid complex is begging us to pursue this date. And even more, this is where we thought, wait a minute, so what? They did this date, and so what is it? What, I mean, all this trouble for what? And then we began to think, and I'm not going to go into that because we won't have time. We began to think that this is a map. It's like your crop circles. It's a map. There's a message there. And instead of us, yeah, don't look at the sky. Come on, look on the ground. We're telling you that here, is the whole story. This says 10,000 BC, sun. Below the Sphinx. And we do know, since 91, that there's a possibility of chambers below the Sphinx, apart from the possible chambers inside the pyramid. It's amazing, and we're still waiting. They're waiting. Why? Because they say, no, it's not possible. It doesn't have to do with 10,000 BC. Where is the evidence? Where are the potsherds? Where are the bones of the people? Where is everybody in 10,000 BC? We have to say, well, we got a point there. We said it's your problem. We have worked this out. Now you're going to look for the bones. You're going to look for whatever. But they didn't. And everything changed. And we won't have time. But everything changed in 1974, and more particularly in 1998, when they found Nabta Playa. You've heard of Nabta Playa? Good. I'll tell you about Nabta Playa briefly. Can we move fast here? We're going to have to skip here. It's a place here. Nabta Playa, and remember this. This is going to change world history. In 1974, a group of anthropologists, Americans, stopped their four-wheel drive with a bunch of students to have what they called a comfort break. They were stopping for a pee. And while they were having the comfort break, they noticed that there were these strange stones all around. They discovered Nabta Playa. It's become the most interesting place in the world. It's not Stonehenge, it's a mini Stonehenge in the desert. You'll see pictures of it. But the information it carries baffles us. Because it's been dated to...
They say the pyramids were a power station. They say it was some kind of power plant. It gave off wireless power, wireless energy.
Thousands of years, at least 6,000, sorry, what am I saying? At least 3,000 BC, 3,000 years before the pyramid. At least. We think now even more. And the knowledge that is contained in the pyramid, the alignments to Orion, to Sirius, is in this complex. We didn't expect this at all. Who did this? Who are these people? And this was a mission that I took. Fuzzy came half of the way, by the way. All right? Here. Can you see my projection here? There is a very, very eerie region there. It's called Gilf Kebir and Uwainat. And amazingly, have you seen the English patient, by the way? The film? You know where she dies in the cave? She's supposed to die in the cave of the swimmers, which is at Gilf Kebir. Amazingly, we didn't know these places existed till the 1920s. And the reason we didn't know is nobody could get there. Even today, it's one... Of course, if you have a helicopter or a plane. But to go from the nearest oasis, you came with us up to Dakhla, didn't you? To drive here, which is 700 kilometers, takes you 4 nights and 5 days with four-wheel drive. It is what we call the open desert. And I wish I had more time, because the open desert is something else. Being in the desert is one thing. Being in the open desert will change your life, change mine. You lose touch of civilization completely, and you're there with the sparsest of needs, a sort of Franciscan experience. You know, all you need is a bit of water and food. But this contact with a primordial world, and more interestingly and more excitingly, a contact with the lost people who built Nabta Playa. Because we found not only evidence of their presidents, they left us their images. We can actually see how they look like. And they look great. Really sexy people. Tall, black, with a very unusual face. Very unusual. We can actually see how they look like. And they look great. Really sexy people. Tall, black, with a very unusual face. Very unusual face. Can we move fast? I have to move fast. I'll have to skip some of the story, but this is the so-called Abu Bala Strait. If you read Black Genesis, which I hope you will, it's just been launched here in England, it tells the second chapter is a very large one. It tells the whole background, this romantic background of the discovery of these places. It really is a romance. And usually it's British people, mad dogs and Englishmen. And this is one of them. He discovered what is known as the Abu Balas Hill, which mystified people until recently. He found a hill, can you go? Well, yeah. This is pictures of the original. He took the pictures. I'm trying to remember, Howard King he was called. And he found this hill and a lot of these strange jars, full of them, about 200 of them, all around the hill. Nobody understand what they were there for. We know now. Well, we know now that there were water stations, like fuel stations. It's the only way you can travel in this desert. Even today, you have to have stations. And that's why the Egyptologists didn't think they could make it, because they didn't understand that the ancient Egyptians had worked this one out. Can we move fast? And here is a very romantic fellow, which you'll hear a lot about in my book, and we're thinking of making a film out of him. He is your Omar Sharif, Rudolph Valentino, built into one. You're going to love this. He was educated at Balliol College in Oxford. He was a champion, Olympic champion of fencing. And of all things, quite a romantic fellow. He actually seduced the Queen of England, the Queen of Egypt. And they say he married in secret. Anyway, but his great passion was the desert. And he organized one of the most daring, in fact, the only daring expedition of its kind. He actually did it by camel to reach. Well, he went there hearing that there were these Shangri-Las in the desert, and he reached, can we move? His name is Ahmed Hassanein Bey. Ahmed Hassanein Bey. He spoke perfect English. Wonderful fellow. He died young, by the way. He died at 46, car crash, driving his Jeep, and he hit an army tank, apparently, something like that. His journey starts, very, very distant on the Mediterranean, and comes along the Libyan border, and he finds this zone, this small mountain zone, which he called Uwainat. It means little eyes. The Egyptians call eyes wells, rather ponds. They imagine that there are eyes from the earth. So he called it Uwainat, the little eyes. It's the only place in all this vast open desert that has a bit of water. And during the Second World War, it was a big prize because it's the only way to cross into Egypt from Libya. So you find a lot of remnants of World War II cars and all over the place. Amazingly, in perfect order. Nothing rusts there. There is no humidity, nothing. Yeah, it's amazing. You find engines like you could use them. You find prehistoric artifacts on the sand, untouched, like the moon. It's really. Okay, let's move fast. He came across, it was supposed to be totally uninhabited, but he came across these people. Apparently one day he woke up where he was camping, and this girl, apparently that's her, appeared and had a bowl of milk. And she spoke a very mysterious language we know now is ancient Tebu, the language of the Sahara people. And she said to him in this blurred language, luckily he had a Bedouin who understood it roughly, that they had a king. Totally amazed, and she took him to the king. His name was Harry, apparently. Can we move? Here are these people. Can we move faster? And Harry said to Hassanein, we've been here a long time. Long time. He said, in fact, our ancestors left us their images. And when he took Hassanein to see the images, Hassanein got a shock because there was fauna that wasn't supposed to be there. Elephants, giraffes, lions, ostriches, faunas that can only exist today at least 1,000 kilometers south into Central Africa. And so he reported this to the National Geographic, and wow, we understood that that's the beginning of understanding that the Sahara was fertile, had water. It was a very different place. And we move faster. I'll have to, I'm enjoying this. You're enjoying this? Come on, give me some encouragement, huh? Yes, okay. We're nearly finished. I'll have to move very, very fast, but essentially, I want to show you the people, but can we have the one that you have? This is another explorer, is one of the princes of Egypt, who declined the throne, Prince Kamal ad-Din, to become a desert explorer in the footsteps of Hassanein Bey, and he built the very first four-wheel drive, built by the Ford Company. But he did, rather than go through the Libyan border, he went straight, trying to go to Uwainat, this small mountain zone, and he discovered something even bigger. He discovered Gilfkebir, which is the size of Switzerland. If you can imagine Switzerland without any trees today, it's the size of Switzerland. It's 300 kilometers long and 80 kilometers wide. Can we move? It's here. Hassanein missed it because he traveled at the back. You couldn't see it. Next slide. And of course I had to go there. I just had to go there. And we did an expedition in 2008, in April of 2008. And it changed my life. I mean, when you reach those places, you've landed on Mars. You have landed on Mars. In fact, they use this region to do tests for the Mars mission, because it has the same apartheid geology. And you move. Well, there's another English crazy mad dog. Major Ralph Bagnall. His sister was the one who wrote National Velvet, by the way. Weird connection.
Hey, we're Root, and we can save you up to 52% off your car insurance.
It's pretty nice. I like his hat. And of course, he had these cars, and they got stuck God knows how many times. Even today, we get stuck a lot. We go over dunes and valleys, and wow. Move. And he found what is known, it was the first circle that was found. Stone circles in the desert. They're 8,000 years old. Astronomical alignments to the solstices, to the equinoxes. Can we move? Oh, there's the original English patient. Major Al-Mashi, a Hungarian. That's the real one.
Crazy shit, right?
Doesn't look like Ralph Fiennes, I'm afraid, but he's the one who decided, okay, we'll go there by plane. He convinced a rather wealthy couple here, Lord and Lady Clayton, to fly. And they had a plane. Anyway, move on. And that's the plane they went. You've seen the film. And move. Here he is at the Cave of Swimmers. He discovered the Cave of Swimmers. Let's move fast. Another one, who's a very good friend of mine, Carlo Bergman, who found the Abu Balas Trail. He found those stations that lead, they built not one, many. It's like fuel stations all over the desert. And we move. He's a rather interesting guy. Unfortunately, all the jars have been broken. Yeah. But he managed to save some. Here is his journey from Dakhla in the middle. He went down and found the trail. But we had no physical evidence. We knew there was a trail, but there was no physical evidence of pharaohs being there. Egyptologists kept saying, no, 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 they may have tried, but they never went there. There is no evidence. Nothing. Zilch. Not the word, not the sign, not the pot, no zero. Until 2007. To be precise, December 2007. Of all people, it's always outsiders. A Maltese businessman, who happens to be a friend of mine, Mark Borda, who decided to go to... Move fast. Let's go. These are the pots, by the way. These are modern pictures. They date from the 4th and 5th dynasty. Whoa. It's very easy because you get there and, like, there's no one. Let's move. Some more. There is Carlo Bergman. There is Mahmoud Marai, who went with Mark Borda, and they did an expedition in November, December of 2007, can you move, to Uwainat. And they entered, illegally, the Sudanese border. And they explored on foot. Let me tell you, they're brave guys, because they walked for 9 days around there. It's quite an experience. You easily get lost. And they came across this. Pharaonic inscriptions 700 kilometers from the line. They're from the Pharaoh Mentuhotep II of the 12th dynasty. Pharaohs went there, and better still, they tell us why they went there. They tell us they went to meet their ancestors. They went to meet the people of the kingdom of Yam. Egyptologists thought that Yam was somewhere along the Nile, and they weren't quite sure. They now tell us this was a rendezvous place. And the big question is, where is Yam? And who are these people? Let's move. That's at the moment of discovery. It's at the heat of discovery. Look at the picture. Let's move. Here are the wonderful pictures. Let's get a bit close up. Move, next picture. There they are. Now, it will not look like much. But move, go back, Ozzy. Huh? It's actually not put right, but there is a house. There's pots. They have headgear. They wear bracelets and dresses, and you can't see it too well, but they have the same triangular dress as the ancient Egyptians. The only thing is that they are black, hence the title Black Genesis. And we know now, because of genetic studies, that we all come from what we call the African Eve. I gave a talk at I'm going to end on this because I'm going to get scolded. Leave you to read the book, huh? There was 800 people in the audience at the Washington University District of Columbia, most of them African Americans. And I was apparently the first to say, I'm a black man turned white. Because that's what we are. It's just that. It's just a bit of melatonin that changes in your skin. And this is such a wonderful realization that we all come from the same source and we're exactly the same people. The package is different, that's all. And look at history and the mess we made because of not understanding this. We're at the threshold not only of understanding this scientifically, but to have found these people. Read my book. Thank you very much.
Robert Bivall know what the fucking deal is. Like you said, the name of his book is Black Genesis. He already know like all the ancient knowledge, the ancient megalithic stone builders, the founders of civilization, the parents of Egypt are black people from the middle of fucking Africa. You know what I'm saying? Where did they come from before that? Could have been Atlantis. You know what I'm saying? But everything that ancient culture, what we can't understand how they did that shit, where they got the knowledge from, those were fucking black people. Everybody knows it, and that's the main thing with mainstream science and archaeology and anthropology. They don't want to say that shit. They don't want to say that there was a more advanced civilization of all blacks. That some major cataclysm, some catastrophe from space, a comet that just destroyed that shit and wiped everything out. And motherfuckers had to start back from scratch. Lost all their knowledge, lost all their understanding. You know what I'm saying? Then other people come in and find all these megalithic structures, the pyramids and the Sphinx and all this other stuff and say, oh, we did that. The Incas and everybody over in the Americas find all these ancient sites and be like, oh, we did that. Y'all ain't do that shit. None of y'all built that shit. There was a global civilization, because this type of construction is all around the world. And once you see this global civilization, it was somehow knocked down. It's like, what the fuck? I did way more talking than anything else this morning, which is good sometimes, because we always talk about a lot of good shit. But I did get started on this piece. I'm going to come back. He's wearing a vest. I'm going to work on his vest and his shoe, and then I'll work on his hands. And then everything else is going to be smoke and the brick wall. So this should go fairly quickly. And I got some shit to do online. So I'm going to just take a break for a couple hours. I'm going to definitely come back in here. It's still early. Oh, it's 11 o'clock. Yeah, I'll be back in here later this afternoon because I do want to be able to get this underpainting done today. And so I can tomorrow I can just start fresh on that second layer of paint for that first canvas and really start knocking these out these skull paintings. Yo, Jay.
Nothing but facts around this shit, dog. You know what I'm saying? New ones and old ones. And I'm always trying to learn some new shit. Yeah, I appreciate you, brother. All your energy, all your support, all your good comments and everything. Everybody else, man, appreciate y'all stepping in, chilling with me, man. Work and watch me work my way through these portraits and these paintings. I'm gonna catch y'all in a couple hours. Peace. Oh man. Come on.